Hey guys, thank you for tuning in. Today I have a special guest, my preferred loan officer, Diana Batchelor.
Hi guys.
And she's going to send you a link, or you may get the link from me, but we're going to make sure we answer some top questions today. But I just wanted to make sure you knew who was a part of the team. That way you know who you're working with. Hey guys, so today we are going to talk about some frequently asked questions that you're always asking me. Now, some of these questions I can't answer because I'm not the loan officer. So I brought you one of our very best, Diana B, and she's going to go through some of the questions that I can't specifically answer for you to make sure you're on the right track of buying your home. You guys ready to get started? You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, so the number one question that I always get asked, doesn't matter where a person is in their buying process, is down payment. How much money do I need? And as you know, that's a tricky question.
It is, yeah.
So from your perspective, how do we answer that type of question?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great question. So a couple of things. One, it's going to depend on the borrower. There's a lot of different programs out there, but let me just get the biggest myth out of the way.
Okay.
You do not need 20%.
Right, you don't need 20%. Yeah.
Anyone who says you need 20%, they're wrong. And that's why you need to work with me.
Exactly, yes.
So
hey, talking on that with this 20%, if you had to just guess, how many loans are you doing where people are just putting 20% down?
maybe 1 in 20.
That's, wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 20 is definitely a myth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you're doing an investment loan, you're not putting 20% down.
Okay. For the average Joe,
for the
who's going
person
to buy first, second home, they're not putting 20% down.
No.
Okay. That's good to know.
No. So there's a few different programs out there. What I will do is, when you work with me, we're going to talk about your goals for this property, how long you're going to be there, and what your goals is for the house.
Okay.
And then depending on that, we're gonna look at what programs that you qualify for. So there's down payment assistance available. Yes, that is also a myth that there's no longer down payment assistance. It has changed.
Okay.
But there are still some programs out there.
Do I need to be a first-time home buyer to get down payment assistance?
No, there are some programs that you can do it again if you have a house or you've bought in the past.
Okay.
So these are all questions that we're gonna go over.
Yeah.
And then there's first-time home buyer loans. Now, that's another big myth, means to be a first-time home buyer, you could have never bought a house before.
Oh, right.
Actually, first-time home buyer means you haven't bought a house within 3 years.
Okay.
So in order to qualify for that, you haven't bought a house within 3 years, and you can put as little as 3.5% down.
Okay. So let me be a devil's advocate here. So let's say I bought a house and I've been in my house 5 years. Do I now qualify for this?
You do?
Really? Even though I'm still living in the house?
Yep.
Oh, now that's great information.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I don't have to worry about coming up with this large lump sum of money. Does it matter if I sell my home or keep my home? Could I still qualify for that?
You can.
Oh, I love that information.
So this is why it's so important to talk to a loan officer, and I know a lot of you are scared to talk to us. I guess we look really scary. But I know it can be intimidating, I know it can be overwhelming, but really getting on the phone with us first thing and going over all these details is gonna be crucial to make sure that you can get in the right product up front, and that maybe you're not selling a house that could be a great rental opportunity for you, an income stream.
Okay.
So I definitely get on the phone with us right away.
So this is what I got, guys, from this information when it comes to how much money I need. What I just heard is this: there's multiple options for every buyer. And it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like they start as low as 0 down and go up from there. but we don't necessarily need to be concerned with a 20% down payment. Am I picking that up right?
You are 100% right.
Okay, and so for the people at home, it sounds like to me, you mentioned 3.5% down payment. Is that kind of like your number one down payment option, or like how would you rate it? Do you see a lot of people doing that, or?
A lot of people go with FHA loans just because it's lower credit guidelines, higher debt to income ratio. It's a really good qualification. There is conventional where you can do 3% for a first-time home buyer, or 5% if you currently own another house. So those are good as well. So again, that's why it's so important to get on the phone with us, go over all these options, and we will tell you what's going to be the best option for you. At the end of the day, it's your loan. We want you to choose which one's going to be right for you. But once we know what your loan looks like, we're going to give you those options based on what you qualify for.
Great. That's great information. Guys, you have options. Let's just keep that top of mind. Get with a professional. You're going to get with a pro, and they'll walk you through the process to make sure they have the right product for you. Now, let's move on to the next question that I get asked all the time, or maybe it's a statement, but hey, my credit's not too good. I feel like I need to wait a year. What would be your response to someone in that situation where they're thinking, I don't have the best of credit?
So yes, credit is very intimidating. No one likes to look at their credit score. But by you waiting, you could actually be damaging your credit more. So I always tell my clients, get on the phone with me. Let's take a look at your credit. I'll do a soft pull on your credit, which doesn't actually hurt your credit, and let's see how we can improve it. There is programs out there that require as little in the mid 500s.
Okay.
And then for down payment, they usually want more to the mid 600s. But what if I can show you how to raise your credit and get you on a path to actually buy a house sooner than you being scared and waiting on the sidelines? So I get it, credit score is very intimidating, but let's just grab it by the horns and work together and get a solution versus the waiting game.
Yeah, I can actually share a story with you guys on this one. I don't know if I ever told you this before, but I'll tell this story because it's related to the down payment. So I used to work with the guy. His name was Tim, and we won't give out Tim's last name. But Tim and his brother were both buying houses at the same time. Tim's brother had bulletproof walk-on water credit. It was like a 8 whatever. Like it was up there. It could buy, point, click, buy whatever you want. But Tim wasn't so lucky. So he was in that low 6s credit score. And Tim went and bought his house over in Ahwatukee. Loved his house. Okay, perfect home for him. Ended up being a great opportunity. But his brother decided to wait. And his brother actually waited a whole year because he said, I want to get over the 840. That's what he said. I wanted to get over the 840. And what we noticed in that situation, and all this information came from Tim, so I'm giving you third-party information. Tim's brother with the 840 credit score, when he went to buy, is paying more on his mortgage because the rate was higher and also the price of the home. So, hey guys, listen, best thing to do, in my personal opinion, Diana, you back me up on this, is buy when you qualify and buy when you can afford the monthly payment. You think that's fair enough to say? Yeah,
so a great example of that, last year, rates were at least 1% higher. Today, they're at least 1% lower. What's house prices right now? Higher or lower?
I think they're higher.
They're definitely higher.
Yeah.
So houses tend to appreciate, rates tend to decrease, but in the end, is it worth the wait?
I don't think so. I think it's best to get in while you can. Okay, so those are two of the top questions I get. How much money do I need? And what about my credit score? And actually, we kind of just solved the third question about when to buy, because we're saying longer is not always better. So for you guys that are just truly not ready, you actually have homework to do. Time may mean getting your income up And that's fine, okay? If you have to get the right income to get the job, but there are always options for you. Now let's see, there's another option that we have here.
So renting, if you're renting, what interest rate do you pay when you rent?
100%.
You pay 100% rent. Also, I always tell people, because they always ask me, is now the time to buy or should I continue to rent? And obviously, everyone's situation is different. And sometimes it does make more sense to rent versus buy. You might be moving soon, you haven't decided on where you're going to live, you don't have a stable job. There could be numerous reasons. Obviously it's a personal choice. But at the end of the day, when you rent, it's 100%. You're paying someone else's mortgage.
Right.
You're not building wealth, and you can't paint your walls. You can't personalize it the way you want. Maybe you really want a furry animal that's on the restricted list. You can't have that.
Right.
So there's certain things to think about. Maybe you want to expand your family and you can't have that where you're at in a small apartment. So I always say, think about the reasons you want to buy and then think about the reasons why you're renting.
Right.
And make a list.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about that. I'm always going to be an advocate of owning over rent. So if you ask me, I'm gonna give you a very biased answer. I'm gonna tell you to own the house, right? But it's because I've been where you've been, right? I was in a rental and I remember hearing this dishwasher while I'm having a conversation with my wife. And it was just so loud that I couldn't talk to her normally. It felt like we were having a screaming match just to say, hey, how was dinner? How was your day? You know, normal conversation that you have, right? And in my scenario, that created so much more stress that was unnecessary that I decided to break my lease, okay? And I broke my lease, got out of that apartment, got myself into a house as fast as I could possibly do. And a lot of people told me I was crazy when I did that. But if we fast forward the clock, I have built so much more equity. The family is happy. We've customized this home to be what we want. And what I notice is I'm running into a lot of people who feel the same way. So when you're at the rental, I want you to think about your long-term goals, okay? Are you looking for a place to create stability, a strong, solid foundation for the family? Are you looking to leave something behind? These are typical goals that people share with me, and I just want to make sure you keep that at the forefront of your mind while you're going through this process. And the next thing I want you to do is create a list of needs versus wants, because as you're renting, one thing to keep in mind is these guys are making these apartment complexes luxurious. They want you to stay long term, okay? So you may have granite soft close cabinets, you may have all the things that you wish you had in the house, and the house you buy may not have these things. But just remember that you're renting at a much higher rate than you could own for, and the benefit of owning is you can change all of that stuff, okay? All of that's the cosmetic stuff of the house. We can make sure to get you soft close cabinets. It's already out there waiting on you, okay? Any other tips for us on renting versus buying?
So the one thing to think about is when you're renting, you're in a contract. And that contract, typically at renewal, there's a couple of things that's gonna happen. One, it could increase. Two, it could end and now you're forced to move in very short term. When you buy, you're typically locked into that rate. The only time it's going to change is if your home insurance goes up or your taxes go up. So that gives you peace of mind.
Right, yeah.
So just some
You
things.
can actually plan and budget properly. So we actually just closed a client a couple of weeks ago, and that was one of his biggest concerns in his rental. As he was paying rent, he never knew what his payment was until the day the rent was due.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's very crazy. And then what happened is, if he couldn't pay it that day, maybe he got a meeting or something, they'd start accruing late fees.
All the late fees.
Yeah.
Yep.
So hey, in our opinion, renting is not as good as buying. It has its place, but we're always going to tell you to become a homeowner. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm Lamar Neely.
I'm Diana Batchelor.
And we are here to help you figure out how to make the best decision for you and your family. I hope this information was helpful. So make sure you like, subscribe, and get to us on the next one.